What is inattentive ADHD? Based on the literature and popular descriptions, ADHD, previously known as ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder, is characterized primarily by a significant difficulty in sustaining attention and focus for a long time. So individuals with inattentive ADHD often struggle with everyday tasks that require prolonged mental effort and organization. In my opinion, the terminology inattentive ADHD comes from a misleading angle and doesn't fully reflect the reality of the ADHD brain. It's not really a general inattention matter, but rather inattention to tasks and topics a person with ADHD is lacking natural interest and or understanding to it, but are able to put their full attention to other topics that they're fully interested in. And this is happening unconsciously. It's an unconscious selective inattention and an unconscious selective attention matter. The key term is unconscious. Someone with ADHD doesn't consciously decide what are the things, topics, and tasks they are interested in, or that they understand, or that they are passionate about. The selection happens automatically. And when they have to do something they strongly dislike, they just freeze. And this is what we call ADHD paralysis. You will say, okay, don't we all have tasks we dislike at home, at work, that we must take care of? My question is, can you still somehow manage to do the tasks that you strongly dislike and move on with your day, even the days you don't feel like it? Can you push yourself a bit and do them? Because when a person with ADHD has to do a task they truly dislike, or they do not understand the way to do it, the effort to actually do it, to take that step, is very often out of this world difficult. It brings such discomfort that it can drain every cell of the body's energy and gives a feeling of suffocation, as if the person is locked in jail and cannot escape. And this happens regardless of how difficult or simple a task might be for someone. What can make a real difference for people with attentive ADHD and ADHD in general is to address the challenges they are facing in their daily life. Instead of running away from them or pretending they're not there, or even worse, blaming themselves for those challenges, believing it's their fault or that they are just less capable than other people, because that is not even close to reality. So many people with ADHD are struggling because they haven't been given the tools and knowledge to actually understand what ADHD is, to understand who they are, and to finally see how much potential and power they have. And I was one of these people. I spent my entire childhood failing at school, collecting day after day after day very bad grades, as I couldn't understand the way the learning was processed and presented in the classroom. And I ended up believing that those grades, those numbers on the paper, represented my worth. I didn't know at the time that I was actually an undiagnosed ADHD survivor trying to make the best out of my day and even to make it until the next day. Every morning I woke up, I thought that this chronic failure was all because of me, because I was dumb. So how is inattentive ADHD presented in adults? Adults with inattentive ADHD face challenges in all aspects of life, including work, relationship, household management, self-perception, self-love, and more. Adults with ADHD may feel overwhelmed by the responsibilities, leading to high levels of stress and anxiety. And often they could say, I don't know how to do the adult thing, since some daily adult tasks that for some people could seem completely automatic and easy could be very difficult for someone with ADHD. If we take the money aspect, for example, it can be a hassle paying bills, especially on time, to keeping track of expenses, completing a yearly tax declaration, or even managing to easily access their online e-banking using the right login and password. Let's talk about specific challenges in AFAB women with inattention ADHD. In this video, whenever I am mentioning the term woman or women, I'm talking about AFAB individuals, assigned female at birth. The inattentive ADHD presentation in women is often in a way that is less obvious, such as being quietly inattentive rather than disruptive. They don't bother too much. They are more likely to struggle internally, leading to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem, especially due to social expectations. And those expectations can push women to develop compensatory strategies that hide and suppress their challenges, leading to a very delayed diagnosis, often thinking that they are not good enough and they must try harder. Regarding women's sex hormones, menstrual cycles, pregnancy, and menopause can significantly exacerbate ADHD traits, especially when it comes to challenges related to executive functioning and emotional regulation. Women, most of the time, have endless roles to juggle and to balance between work, parenting, caregiving, maintaining a clean and functional household, being a supportive and understanding life partner and friend, being a satisfying lover, and all that while making sure their appearance is following social standards of beauty, that no matter what they do, they're never good enough. And these aspects and efforts are strongly intensifying the already challenging ADHD traits, such as overwhelm, anxiety, accumulated tiredness due to lack of sleep, having to juggle with everything, lack of energy, and then what appears is the RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and this feeling of not being enough. Anxiety and depression are also very present. Higher rates of co-occurrent mental health issues appear in women with inattentive ADHD, which of course makes total sense. After all the chronic suppression, juggling high responsibilities and roles, and the constant need to prove their adequacy during each day of their lives, of course they bring anxiety and all the rest. And that is true for so many women with or without ADHD. Reasons for inattentive ADHD misdiagnosis or late diagnosis. Many individuals with inattentive ADHD are misdiagnosed or remain undiagnosed until much later adulthood for different reasons. Unlike hyperactive ADHD, inattentive ADHD symptoms are less disruptive and more internal, making them harder to notice. We have the gender bias. ADHD research has historically been focusing more on boys, putting aside women. So hopefully soon there would be much more research on girls and women. We need answers. We need focus also on women. Coping mechanisms. Many adults with ADHD develop coping mechanisms that mask their challenges. For example, someone with ADHD might never be late. But why? Because they have put in place sophisticated techniques that ensure that they are on time. But this doesn't mean that the challenge of time management is not there, but rather it has been chronically dealt with without the person even knowing they have ADHD. And this is something that I have a lot. All my life, I was on time, but nobody asked me what was the process in my mind in order to arrive on time and even to arrive earlier, because I didn't want anyone to think, oh, why she's late, etc., and to judge me and to have negative thoughts about me. So I was always on time. But in order to be on time, it took me so long to plan it and to be sure I'm taking the right path. I'm thinking all the different scenarios that could happen, and even sometimes do the road before, so I'm sure I know how to get there, where is the entrance that I have to take, and all the different details. So clearly, there was a time management issue, but for me, I thought that this is just me. This is how I am. I need to take forever until I'm sure what I need to do to arrive on time. And I was successful. I'm never late, or very, very, very rarely. Another reason for a late diagnosis is that often conditions such as anxiety and depression coexist with ADHD, which can overshadow the ADHD symptoms. Or, in my opinion, these conditions of anxiety and depression and mental health could be a result of misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, untreated, and lack of understanding and knowledge of the ADHD brain and all that goes with it. Of course, someone is going to have anxiety and depression if they're not aware that in parallel with their life without them knowing about it, they have ADHD or other neurodiversities. The least they could have is anxiety and depression. And we could even feel like they're heroes that they made it so far without even knowing about it. At that point, I would like to share something a bit general with you. Even though it could wrongfully appear recently that everybody has ADHD. It's mostly because for so many years, so many people have been silently struggling and being completely clueless for the reasons of their struggles. It's not the ADHD that has increased, but the awareness and the knowledge of it.